Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done an Industry Pathology episode, and this is actually the first one of 2026. So happy new year. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome to this channel. Just to give you a recap, we talk about different things, specifically in the mental performance industry and everything adjacent to it, and things that we could diagnose, for lack of a better word, of what's going on that maybe not be the best or can be improved in this industry. But with that being said, I want to talk about three specific things that I think is definitely holding back the mental performance industry. And this is not an exhaustive list. There's so much more I can go into beyond these three. And within these three, I can make videos on them as themselves. But we're just going to go over a few of them to give some indication of maybe what we can change. So the first one I'm going to start off is a very popular term, AI, artificial intelligence. Now, regardless of where you stand on this is something that's probably here to stay. Now, it may change over the years because it's been changing for decades. It's been around, but it just hasn't been as accessible in different companies like OpenAI, and they've been working to get it to the masses in a way where now not only can we use it as a tool, but we can even integrate it into other systems in our day-to-day workflows, and this is good. But the problem is most people don't have a really nuanced vision of what AI really is. They think it's more so either a chat bot that simply is just going to converse with a person, which that is a way to use it. But people don't realize they've been using AI for years. Like I said, decades. It's been around. You just didn't think about it because, once again, flexible thinking is something I talk about all the time on this channel. And if you don't have that, you're going to get left behind. But when you use, say, like Google Maps or Waze, things like that, what do you think is being used to utilize how to find the best routes, to give you updates, to shift routes in real time? That's AI. Even on social media platforms, how do you think the algorithms work and learn your watch history, whether it's, say, Netflix, that's a video streaming platform, but it's the same premise. AI is this catch-all term that they see as this big, bad monster. But in the mental performance industry, people are thinking it's going to replace them. And this is a very small-minded view on it because, on actuality, people get this fear-mongering of, oh, they're taking our jobs, like South Park, they took our jobs. That's not how it's going to work. It's going to either replace certain parts of a job, and if it does replace a job completely, you might have to second guess on, was that really the best job in the first place? What it's really going to do is help people who are really giving the value they can give and make it more efficient. I had a back and forth with an individual, and it's kind of inspiration for this video, as they were adamant about not being for AI. They think it's a disservice, it's going to ruin the world. That, like I said, woe is me, boohoo thinking. That's what's hurting our industry. Because in actuality, if I used to be a history teacher, if you go back far enough in history, electricity about 120, 130 years ago, that industry was booming. And guess who? It had naysayers, just like AI did. Now you see that's different, Nick. Is it though? We say that in hindsight. You're familiar that I love cognitive biases? That's hindsight bias. You're saying that now that electricity is an everyday staple that lights our houses, runs our cars, do all different types of things. But back then, there was a lot of opposition in general just of what electric could be. But guess what? It's everyday life, and it's basically a necessity at this point. Fast forward now, we have some different technology, as we always do, and there's always going to be pushback because people fear what they don't understand, and most people in the sport, psychology, and mental performance industry do not understand AI. So, for example, I created a tool called Briefs. This individual I went back and forth with briefly on his post, he said he expected someone who's creating some kind of AI tool to say what I said about it. And actually, that's a very small-minded approach because I've been in the mental performance industry for about 11, 12 years directly. And if you want to count my journey, it's even longer. Like 12 years is just me officially being in the industry, but you can say like 15 from the start of my journey, delving down, getting my degrees and all that stuff. So 15 years. AI has been prominent like how it is now, probably last 3 years. And that's when I started getting onto it. So it's disingenuous to make it seem like I'm some kind of shill. I'm not OpenAI. I'm not Google. I don't have billions of dollars. I've put in tens of thousands of dollars of my own hard-earned money to build my business and build some tools. Breeze, which integrates human hybrid mental coaching with AI, is not a chat bot, and I specifically structured so a person couldn't just go back and forth ranting on and on, because the people who fear this think that most people are just going to use this as a therapist or a mental coach and eradicate them. So I made this as an assistant where you could either use it with your clients as an assistant to your actual services. You can receive feedback from actual video messaging, and it has other tools to accommodate, because there's no one size fits all. And it's kind of a little bit narcissistic to think that you're the only thing that can help these people. And that's how it comes off as. We can't be like that in this industry, because the people we're serving are the ones that matter. And we kind of disregard them, not because we don't care about them or want to help them, but We need to think where they're at and meet them there. And that kind of segues into my next point is the reliance on the powers that be that becomes almost like a dogmatization of how this industry should be. And I noticed from a firsthand experience being associated with different organizations such as ASK, where this is an organization where it quantifies and makes a succinct approach to this industry, like any other certifying body in fitness. You got NSCA, NASM, ACE, AFFA, ACSM. There's so many different ones. And I think where the mental performance side is really missing is there's almost a monopoly where the thinking, like I said, I don't want to say indoctrination because that may be extreme, but it's kind of like an echo chamber. It's a lot of incestuous ideas where everyone is thinking the same things, doing the same things, bouncing the same ideas off each other. And they're like, yes, this works. Great. But guess what? That's not the people who are going to buy it. Like, for example, being on the CNPC registry is great and all. And if an organization maybe looks up, oh, I want to find a CNPC certified person, cool. But the everyday person that's going to need these services, that is the majority, they're not looking there. So in the mind of, say, from a branding standpoint, great. ASK says, hey, you can get the CNPC, you'll be put on our registry, and you're going to be looked at as this high and mighty position, when in actuality, it's marketing. Like, no offense, I look at everything from a business lens. And this kind of, like I said, it's a segue because this way of thinking kind of compartmentalizes how we look at other things. This is why things like that are new, technology, AI, they get pushed aside because these are not in the conversations really, to really any degree. There's some talks I know, but not in the way where it'll be beneficial for the industry to move forward. More so is, should we do it or should we not? That's such a small-minded and a black and white way to look at things, where you're worrying about should we, shouldn't we? I'm trying to see is, how do we do it? Because it's coming. And if you don't adapt to that, guess what? You're getting left behind. And that's fine. And people may see this as, oh, Nick, what are you talking about? But in actuality, I'm speaking from a person, as I always mention on this channel, that I have 100% of my well-being and revenue comes from what I do. I don't work for an organization directly. There's no benefits. There's no 401ks. There's no every 2 weeks. So I have to figure out what the market wants. So when I speak like this, just know it's coming from an actual place of, I've done it and I had to do it. So if you get offended by that, then stay where you're at. I don't care. This is not for you. This is for the people that say, he might have something here, and let's look further into it. So going back to the whole monopoly standpoint, I say I don't like to use that word, but it kind of describes it, because competition breeds better products. Like, I have criticisms, cool, but you can argue, like, if there's no one else pushing another industry or another entity in an industry, why would it have to change? Look at like gas stations, right? A gas station, you look at them, they have them on every single block. Why do you go to one versus the other? Is it branding? Is it awareness? Usually not. It's usually the one that's closest to the side of the street you're on and the cheapest. But imagine where there's only one gas station, and I think gas is about $3.40 where I'm at in South Florida. So let's say they made it $5. If that was the only gas station, you have to pay that $5. What are you going to do? But if a gas station 2 blocks down says, oh, we're going to give you $4, and then a gas station 3 blocks down says, we're going to give you $3.50. Who are you going to? Even if it's like a mile further, you'll make that difference as long as it makes sense. Matter of fact, you might go to the other side of the road. So it makes it more relevant to an industry when there's competition, and we just don't have that in the sports psychology mental performance. There isn't. You could argue there's some adjacent industries. There's APA, Division 47, but a lot of those people are part of ASP too. So I guess what I'm getting at is there needs to be more variety, because how do we breed competition that's needed if there's no reason to compete? That's how status quo, that's how tyrannies take place. And that's kind of where we're at, not in a like megalomaniac type of way. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just saying, if I speak the way I do on LinkedIn and 80 to 90% of people look at me either with like I have multiple heads or if I'm crazy, that's not because I'm saying some so hot takes. It's because you guys have not heard anything outside of what you've been preached, and it shows. So that's where it's coming from. So for us to move away from this and push the industry forward, it doesn't mean you have to disregard ASP or the powers that be. This means just know there's one way, but it's not the only way. There's other adjacent industries. There's other industries complete that will be very beneficial to you as a practitioner, as well as a business owner or an employee, or all the above, depending on what you do. Now, the last one I'll talk about, once again, kind of piggybacks off of that. And this is probably the biggest foul, and it really grinds my gears, as Peter Griffin would say, because we in this industry, not myself, I pride myself always trying to bring you the quality, the freshest, innovative content, practices, interventions the best I can do. I see myself as a server, a performer, and I try to perform my populations. But what I don't like to see is that we put the burden of getting this industry more marketed in the hands of colloquial people, non-practitioners. What I'm basically saying is usually the athletes that are accomplishing these things. We'll take a clip of insert Division One athlete, insert Olympian, insert major championship winner, and they'll say, up until winning this, I did box breathing, or I did self-talk drills, or I did visualization. Insert any of them. And then within a day or two, everyone on LinkedIn and Instagram is posting that clip. You all look like drones. You look the same. And once again, from a business lens, if a client sees that, how do they know you're different? How would they know you're different? They don't, because you're saying the same thing they said. You don't separate yourself. That's one reason I don't like it. But the other reason is more about the practice itself. Why are you putting the burden of what you should be doing? That's lazy. I'm sorry, you're lazy. You can say, oh, I do all this other stuff. I have this to worry about. Cool, so do I. It's 24 hours a day. Use them. So you're lazy in the sense that you're not a hard worker. You're lazy in the sense that because it's not something you like or something you want to do, you don't do it. Guess what? Your athletes say the same thing. Your clients say the same thing. But do you tell them, oh, if you don't want to do it, just don't. It doesn't matter. No, you say, sometimes you got to suck up the stuff that sucks. What's that whole thing? Step out your comfort zone. Nothing great comes from the comfort zone. Y'all will preach that all day long, but you won't do it for yourself. And you wonder why the industry gets slept on. I see some people cry and complain about why do they spend millions of dollars on this or why they spend money on that, but they don't spend on mental performance. I look at it and laugh. You know why? I laugh at you, not because you're crying about it, because you're not doing nothing about it. The reason they spend that money is because whatever that was showed value, or the person advertising brought the value, or they know it is a higher tier and we got to accept it's just a higher tier. Get over yourself. Mental performance falls low in the tier. I've been over that because I work with so many high performers and institutions that I get where I fall in that hierarchy. It's just that I got to make my value so good that they keep me around to some degree, because if you just expect, oh, you should bring me in because mental performance is important. Once again, that's kind of narcissistic. And I know that's a buzzword, but I'm using it for real because that's what it sounds like. You think you're so special. I'll say this till the cows come home. You're not until you do something that's special. It's funny. Everybody wanted to be extraordinary now, but they didn't want to do anything that was extra. Think about that. So while we're telling the stories of all these other pros or all these other high performers, great, but that's a survivorship bias. Oh, the one who won said they did this, therefore they won because of that. No, that's disingenuous. Survivorship bias. Let's look at the people that lost. So that's why you need to be able to frame it in your own way where you're talking about what happens. When you break it down from anecdotes, from your career, from your life, from your standpoint, because you're the one that's a practitioner. You just want to receive that money and do some talk sessions and call it a day. You want to do some drills and some arts and craftsy looking interventions or some charade looking intervention and just say, I'm doing what I'm doing. Sure, that's part of it. Fine, do that. But that's not enough. So my thing to you, New Year's, I hate resolutions, but what I'm going to say to you, you guys need to start this year and change things up, because I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. This industry is going to keep going no matter what. You guys can keep watching. There's things that I'm seeing. I'm very calculated. I read the room on every situation. And I'm telling you, there's changes that are happening that you might find yourself on the wrong side. So with that being said, that's my first pathology of the year. And get your mind right.